Is speed to hire actually the right thing to be optimizing for? So I'm going to spend like the next 15, 20 minutes or so, depending on how fast I talk, and apologies if you don't understand my Scouse accent. I'll try and talk as slow as possible, on what that question looks like for career sites. So it's not a philosophical statement, but it's a set of decisions about what the careers website has to do. So it's where you measure it, what good looks like in the next 12 months. So I'm going to argue that the candidate journey starts before your career site. It exists in the candidate's head. And once you accept that, the careers website has a different job than it used to do, similar to what Brian's just said in terms of how we used to look at a candidate experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through this four-stage framework that we've sort of built around this leaders series, around truth, discoverability, conviction, and dialogue. I'm going to tell you what each one means at the platform level when you have to build for it. So here's where to start. The candidate doesn't open their careers search by going to Google, typing in your company name, or even searching for job titles. It starts upstream of any career site, sometimes weeks and months, and it's all with a problem. So the careers website is no longer the start of the journey. It's the moment of evaluation. They're checking what they think they know against what you tell them. And that changes. The job is completely different. For 15 years, the careers website has been the marketing service. Its goal has to make the brands, the employer brands, attractive enough that someone would apply, just like what Brian was talking about before. It's get the traffic in, push the conversions up, count the amount of applications. That model doesn't work anymore. Not because brand doesn't matter, it does, but because the audience isn't where it used to be. So the first job is truth. We've talked a lot about truth, but what I mean is actually saying things that are specific, real, and useful to the candidate. Most careers websites fail at this, not because they lie, but because they default to a language that's safe and abstract. So it's all about like value-led culture, growth opportunities, we put people first, or as I call them, like fluffy EB statements. None of that's helping the candidate who arrives to your careers website with a problem. The candidate who's worried about redundancy doesn't want to read your purpose statement. They want to know how stable your business is, what attrition looks like. Oh, sorry. Just get my notes there. What your redundancy programs have been like in the last 5 years, whether the function they're joining is growing or it's shrinking. The candidate who's burnt out doesn't want to see slides of people in the breakout area all smiling and happy. They want to know what hours look like for that role and that they're considering. They want to know that the team's workload, what their workload patterns are, and they want to know whether the last person to do that role, if they left, and why. So specific, real, and useful. This has two operational consequences. It's content production and it's content velocity. So you can't deliver truth at that level with a content team that updates the career site once a quarter. You can't do it with a content management system requires developer tickets, having to raise a ticket and say, I need this piece of content updating on our website. And you absolutely can't do it with content workflows when they are owned by marketing teams alone. The careers website that works in the next 2 years are the ones that the TA and the EB team can update at the content at the speed of which you can launch campaigns. It needs to be quick and agile. So where role level detail is structured separately from the employer brand level content, so it can be updated without breaking the whole story, and where what the candidates ask back feeds into the career site at a later date. So think about that as like when the candidate is asking questions of the recruiter during those interview calls, like what questions are they asking that you think you should be putting on your careers site from a content perspective. And I'll dive into a little bit more of that in a second. So if your career site, if your CMS can't do that, you don't have a content problem, you've got an infrastructure problem. Second is discoverability, sorry, I keep saying discovery, it was discovery. In our last leader series here back in, was it February, we were obviously covering things like LLMs, talking about structured content, schema markup, a whole piece. I'm obviously not going to repeat a lot of that. You know, your platform should be doing a lot of that automatically with every piece of content you produce. But 3 years ago, being found meant Google. It just meant being visible on Google search engines. You needed a sitemap on your website. You needed indexable HTML, enough on a page that the keywords matched what the search intent was when searching. That was it. But today, being found means something different. For every surface a candidate touches, specifically more for AI agents that will hit your site and crawl. So Google still matters, but it's increasingly it's answering questions. It's not ranking pages. I mean, I say that, but Google has always been, what's the answer to my question? So ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, they're reading your job descriptions and your culture contents and synthesizing them into answers without sending the traffic to your site. And the next wave of device agents will increasingly do this on the candidate's behalf, while the candidate is doing something else. I think I touched on it last time, wasn't it? It's like you've got these agents now, like OpenClaw and many others, and now Claude can do the same. It's like the candidate isn't actually going to your career site and applying. It's telling an AI to do it for them. It's giving them a prompt and a task, and then giving it full control of the browser and applying for thousands of jobs. And that's obviously what the quality what Brian was talking about before. So what that needs at platform level is content that's structured, not just well written. A job page with a hero image and a flat block of role description text is unparsable to the model, meaning the AI finds it more difficult to understand what the context is and how to summarize it. So what we talked about last time was job pages with structured fields. And if you think about it, you've got this in your ATS anyway, in terms of the attributes and the meta of a data. So it's things like the requirements, the hours, the location, salary range, hybrid status, etc., all marked up with schema. Getting a bit technical here, but it's essentially code within your website that says this is what this piece is on this page within your job description, so that when robots and AIs hit your site, it understands it. Same goes for culture content, like our values as paragraphs get interpreted however the model wants to interpret it. Your values are structured statements with examples and evidence, indexed with the same care as your job content gets read consistently. So what I mean by that is, you know, I've just talked about like all these fluffy statements, and you talk about what a great culture is, but evidence it, you know, through employee stories and truthful content. So the thing to flag to this room is that most of your content on your website after 3-6 months is already out of date. It becomes stale to humans and it's untrusted by AI. You need to not necessarily write more, it just needs to be well structured and constantly updated fast. So as you get more stories, as you get more information, as recruiters feed back into you in terms of what questions candidates ask, keep your content updated rather than just adding more noise. Third is conviction. This is where most careers websites lose the candidate. They've found you, they've landed, they've spent 90 seconds and then they're gone. The conventional answer is improve the candidate, improve the experience, better photography, fewer pages, all that matters, but it's mostly speed especially. If your careers website doesn't load on a mobile phone after 3.6 seconds, they are gone and you can't recover that. It's also a ranking factor now, so it sends a signal to Google to say, hey, this was a poor experience for this user, de-rank them. So if you want to be found, speed and the performance of your career site is critical. But persuasion is what marketing does to someone who hasn't thought about it yet. So it's completely different. The careers website is still trying to persuade when candidates' jobs at the when the candidate's job at the moment is to decide. So they hit your site, it's about decision, it's not persuading. Sorry, my slide's stuck. So what does decision support look like? It looks like a job page that just doesn't describe the role, but it lets the candidate work out for themselves whether they'd be good at it. So we do this with a feature called Job Match. But the principle isn't the product, the principle is the move. A candidate who matches themselves strongly against the role requirements has just told you and themselves something that they didn't know 30 seconds ago, and that's conviction. It looks like a culture page that doesn't tell the candidate what your culture is, but lets them find out what it should feel like to work in a specific team. And we do this with our tool Culture Compass or Culture Match. Features aside, the principle is that the team level culture context matters more than the employer brand level claims. A candidate who sees what their first 90 days might actually look like is more valuable than statements on your site. It looks like a role page that's explicit about the success, what success looks like over the first 6 months, and we do this with Role Ready. The underlying move is that you tell the candidate up front what the bar is and how they'll be measured against that. Not to scare them off, but because the right candidates to help them find clarity rather than feel intimidated. The wrong ones, as Brian was talking about before, they'll step back, they'll check themselves out, and that's a good thing. So when you have all three, and what all three have in common is that they introduce this productive friction, or as what we call it, friction by design. From the platform side, friction by design just means the career site is doing the real work, asking the candidate to think, to grade themselves, to opt in and opt out, and rather than presenting a beautiful service and hoping for the best. The metric shift this enables is the application is the second best signal. The first signal is what the candidates engage with on their way there. So what match did they give themselves? What constraints did they declare? And which role variants did they rule out? So captured properly, that data is more valuable than the application itself because it lets you tell the candidates that when they're arriving prepared, and that's the conviction infrastructure. It's what the career site must do that the candidate has already done most of the upstream thinking somewhere else. So is speed to hire the right metric? My answer is no, or rather the wrong granularity. Speed to hire is a lagging metric, but by the time you can measure it, the outcome is already decided. The lever that moves it sits one stream or one step upstream, and that's the speed of a meaningful conversation. So today, what recruiters do and what do they do when they walk into it? They've got a name, they've got a CV, maybe a couple of form answers. They spend 15, 20 minutes on the call doing the work that the careers website should have done, working out whether this is the right candidate for the role, whether the candidate understands the role, whether the candidate's constraints match the role of what it offers. And by the time they get to anything of value, half the call is gone. So what I want, or what I believe you should want, is for the careers website to hand the recruiter essentially a brief of the candidate. And I don't think that's like futuristic. It's not some sort of agent thing. It's like, what can we do now? So imagine reading, like, this candidate spent 4 minutes on the team page, strong match themselves on hard skills, flagged hybrid as non-negotiable, opted out of 2 role variants, and asked via a conversational navigation about parental leave and progressive pathways. So that's not magic. That's not sort of an AI doing that work. That's the careers website turning signal it already has into something the recruiter can use. So if you think about that, it's like what Brian was talking about before, is it's the easy apply. They come in, like all the shiny pictures, they apply, and then the recruiter is asking all of these questions and finding that they're wasting their time because it's just not the right candidate. So having the careers site do this for us is what we mean. That is speed to a meaningful dialogue. It's measurable, it compounds, so you end up with better prepared candidates, better recruitment calls, better hires, better retention, better and stronger employer brands, which feeds the upstream loop again. So the metric to look at isn't applications per month, it's the quality of the first conversation, which means measuring what happened on the career site before the candidate ever spoke to a human. So back to where the series started, the career site is no longer a brand destination, it's a decision infrastructure. The bit you control between the upstream, half-formed thought and a downstream recruiter conversation. The bit that turns intent into clarity and clarity into conviction and conviction into conversations that are worth having. So 4 shifts for you. So 1, stop measuring the careers website by traffic and applications and start measuring it by the quality of the conversation it follows. Stop treating content as marketing copy. Treat it as an operational truth layer of your hiring process. Number 3, stop optimizing for ease of application and optimize for clarity before application, which means more obviously productive friction or friction by design. And 4, stop thinking of the careers website as the last marketing service before your ATS. Think of it as the first piece of HR infrastructure that kind of touches with the job to do. If the first events in this series were about why this matters, truth, storytelling, being seen by LLMs, this one is about what it looks like to build for it. From where I sit, building for it means treating the careers website as an important piece of software your TA function owns, because increasingly it is. Thanks for listening.